kids and hang on for the ride of your life.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. I am so glad you're here with me today. Happy Easter. It's the 5th Sunday of Easter. Only 3 more weeks to go, and we've got peace in Asia, at least on the Korean Peninsula for a minute. Let's hope it lasts. Let's hope it lasts. All of my friends are fighting about who gets credit for it, but I really don't care who gets credit for it because I'm just glad that there's a chance that there might be peace. That's pretty good. If we can get somebody to stop threatening the entire world with annihilation in some form or another, chemical or biological or nuclear, I'm all for it. That sounds great. Oh, yeah. So I said Happy Easter. And, of course, yesterday, Sunday, we had our renewal of our baptism rites again. And, I love my church because they go around these little bowls of water and fling it on everybody. So at the end of the ceremony, after everybody's gotten pretty doused, and I've been doused already, but they get 2 people, the priest and this nun, go around and douse everyone. He sneaks up. I mean, right in front of the entire congregation, sneaks up to me and just unloads on my face with a big splash of water. That was pretty funny. So my wife said, well, yeah, I guess you need a little extra purification. Maybe I did, because I got it. Oh, man. So, yeah, you remember 5 weeks ago, I said we're in the octave of Easter. That means the whole 8 weeks of remembering and praising and thanking God for the resurrection of Jesus. And I also went through the various readings, and yesterday was when Jesus was saying, I am the vine. And this part of the scripture that stood out to me was John 15:5. It's I am the vine, you are the branches, and whoever remains in me and I in him will bear much fruit, because without me, you can do nothing. I love that. So without Jesus, we can do what? Nothing. That puts us in a little bit of a vulnerable position, because sometimes we think we're all it. We think we're doing it all. And, you've seen it happen in every line, in every aspect of life. I mean, the guy's running down the field in a football game. Guy gets, his knees get chopped out from underneath him. He can't play for the rest of his career. I mean, it's a game-changing, career-changing event. Who knew it was going to happen? The guy's strong, healthy, young, capable, and all of a sudden he's not doing the same thing anymore. And I tend to think that sometimes things like that happen because we're not in control. And I'm not saying that, God's over there causing people to get their legs chopped out from underneath them, but we're not always where we think we are because we did it. Sometimes we're there because of the grace of God, which is pretty good. So that would maybe cause you to change the way you say your prayers. Instead of asking for exactly everything that you want the way you want it, maybe you should just ask God for his goodness and will to shine through in your life. That might be something. It reminds me of a movie I saw this weekend. It's pretty fantastic. It was on Netflix called Come Sunday. And it was about Bishop Carlton Pearson, who was a famous and very well-known and very popular mega church pastor in Tulsa, Oklahoma, just a few years ago. Bishop Carlton Pearson was one of the most beloved Pentecostal Christian personalities of his generation. Thousands would fill arenas and churches to hear him sing, preach, and inspire. But things changed dramatically when he stood in his megachurch pulpit to proclaim a new doctrine. That doesn't always go over well in Pentecostal circles. His doctrine declared that because of Christ, no soul will spend eternity in hell. This controversial doctrine polarized faith communities all over the world, and Bishop Pearson wasn't prepared for the rejection and the stones that were aimed at him. He lost everything. He lost his influence, he lost his church, he lost his friends, and he lost his finances. In a very short period of time, one of the church's most beloved went from a hero to a zero, seemingly overnight, and became the most prominently prominently titled heretic of his generation. And that's kind of interesting because that kind of thing doesn't happen very often. But the movie, if it was correct, movies have a way of getting things a little distorted, a little wrong. But if it was correct, it was kind of an interesting thing because he was going off of 1 John 2, 1 and 2, where where the scripture says, "My little children, I am writing these things to you so that you will not sin. But if anyone does sin, we have an advocate before the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous one. He himself is the anointing sacrifice for our sins, and not for our sins alone, but also for the sins of the whole world." And after reading that, Bishop Carlton thought that, or Bishop Pearson thought that God was telling him that people that didn't know Jesus were going to be saved. And that's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, it really made me wonder, Bishop, I should call him. I should give him a call, check out why he didn't actually become a Catholic after that, because they've been saying that same thing. He concluded that Jesus' sacrifice was for all humanity for about 2,000 years. And we get something similar in Romans 9, 14 through 16. And what then shall we say? Is God just? Is God unjust? Absolutely not. For he says to Moses, I will have mercy on who I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. So then it does not depend on man's desire or effort, but on God's mercy. In 1 Timothy 2, 3 and 4, for this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, who will have all men be saved and to come to the knowledge of truth. So the question, these questions could be answered with Romans 2, 14 through 16. Indeed, when Gentiles do not have the law, but by nature things required by the law, they are a law for themselves, even though they do not have the law. They show that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts, their consciences also bearing witness, and their thoughts sometimes accusing them, and at other times even defending them. This will take place on the day when God judges people's secrets through Jesus Christ, as my gospel declares. So that's Paul talking about the Gentiles who don't have the teaching of the law. It's actually written on their hearts and in their consciences. And so it was amazing, because apparently his congregation completely rejected him. He was hauled before a tribunal, and they told him he was teaching a false doctrine, that he was basically a heretic. And we haven't heard a heretic in a very long time. But because people are, if people want to be able to say that it's us against them, and we're the good and righteous people, we've been forgiven by Jesus, and those guys who haven't accepted Jesus are sinners, and the sinners are going to hell. But if God is judging people's secrets, then who are we to judge? How do we know what he's judging? How can we judge the final judgment of God if we don't even know what they're being judged about, because it's secret? Presuming to know the judgments of God is a dangerous and slippery slope, in my opinion. It starts with a sense of certainty about things that we obviously cannot know. So we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get back. But let me just invite you to give me a call at 310-777-6777, and we'll talk a little bit more about financial planning on the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show when we get back.
NBC Talk Radio, 1050 AM.
Donald Carpenter here. I'm the host of the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock. You know the number one reason married couples fight? Money. The number one lesson people wish they'd learned in school? Money. Listen, I've got over 20 years of experience in asset management and financial planning. Together, we can make the most of the money you make. We can take care of you and your family's finances. We can teach you how to build and strengthen a family financial fortress that can help protect you for years to come. We'll help you do it. Give me a call, 310-777-6777, and we'll help you manage these volatile markets and make better choices for your family's financial future. Call me, 310-777-6777, or shoot me an email, donald@f3assetmanagement.com. And don't forget to catch the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock on KCAA Radio.
Some combinations were just meant to go together. Chips and salsa, refrigerator and freezer, the internet, and those cute little cat videos. At State Farm, there's another combination meant to go together, home and auto, as in combining your home and auto insurance with one agent, which leads to another combination, saving dollars and cents. Your State Farm agent, the DeSalvo Insurance Agency, is here to help life go right. Combine home and auto and see how much you can save. For more information, call the DeSalvo Insurance Agency at 310-553-0241 in Beverly Hills, or find him on the web at BillDeSalvo.com. That's BILLDISALVO.com.
Hi, this is Donald Carpenter. You know, I've written a pretty interesting book. It's called The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, How to Defend Your Family in Any Economy. To pick up a copy of The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or the website FamilyManSMBSG.com. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano asks, why suffer and ignore your pain and illness? Stop it before it gets out of control. Acupuncture is like fresh air, revitalizing your body and mind. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano, renowned acupuncturist to the stars and world-class performing artists, will help you get back to optimum health. To explore the healing arts of Oriental medicine, call Dr. Hirano at 818-244-2287. The first 20 callers will receive 10% off their first visit. Just say Donald Carpenter sent you.
Berndorf Law Offices, located in Los Angeles, is an employment, counseling, and litigation boutique law firm for California employers and executives. Employment laws change almost daily, and penalties for noncompliance are substantial. If you're an employer in Southern California and need assistance navigating the waters of employee relations, legal aspects of human resources management, or need defense against a lawsuit, our lawyers can help. Find us on the web at berndorflaw.com. That's BIRNDORFLAW.com. Or on Twitter at Law4CA Employers.
Donald Carpenter, and I'm here with you. We're back. So I was talking about, this movie that I saw come Sunday about the former Bishop Carlton Pearson, former Pentecostal Christian minister, hauled before a tribunal because he was teaching that there was no more hell. But the thing that really I thought I saw in the movie was that people that were against him really wanted to hold on to their ability to judge others and to determine for themselves whether or not they were sinning or not sinning, and by that determination whether or not they were in hell or not in hell. And man, that's a slippery slope in my opinion. I mean, it starts with a sense of certainty, as I was saying earlier, about things that we just can't know. We don't know what's in a person's heart. We don't know what the secrets, it's in the Bible, the word secrets that God is judging. We don't know what those are. We don't know how a person's relationship with God is in their own heart. We can't know that, even no matter what they're doing. I just say that you don't know the last minute of their life whether or not they had a literal come to Jesus moment. But it leads to the assumption that if we know those things, we're aligned with God, and that God blesses us because we're the righteous ones and we're justified. And God condemns them, the other people, because, well, it's obvious they're all sinners. But Romans teaches us that God is judging secrets, things that we can't possibly know. But our assumed righteousness soon turns to arrogance and to haughtiness and to a holier-than-thou attitude that scoffs at others and distances ourselves from the children of God. And we turn into an us against them. And I think that's what Bishop Carlton Pearson was getting at in a way. Then we elevate ourselves as equal in judgment to God, because maybe we even know, we're even thinking that we know what God has clearly told us, and that we don't know. So, we know more than God does, so that we make ourselves in some way higher than God, because clearly if we think we know what he told us we can't know, we think we know more than he does. And lo and behold, we've made a modern-day scribes and Pharisees out of ourselves, while pointing fingers of judgment and condemnation at others. And we're the ones in the deep moral sins of pride, arrogance, lust, power, and greed, and all for nothing. Yeah, that's not the best place to put ourselves. I mean, some people think of God as an angry judge sitting up in heaven with a tally sheet, putting down check marks every time we do something good or bad. And if that's true, then humans are equally brutal and just made to judge others. But by the actions of some, you might think that's true. Why? Because in Genesis, we're taught that God created humans in his image. And if he's just a mean old cranky judge, then I guess that's what we're supposed to be too. But that's not our God. Why? Because we know from John 1:4-8 that God is love. And from his infinite love, he gives us rules, laws, guidelines, written both in scriptures and in our hearts. And it's from these life guides that we find protection, safety, and pure joy. This is where I think the philosopher John Locke got it wrong. He was the brilliant philosopher who helped shape some of the ideas of the Declaration of Independence. But he failed to recognize that all of God's children were born with a conscience. And so he called for a tabula rasa, or a blank slate, and that we learned everything that we know. And people have carried that, they've carried that ball to the end of the field and further. But we know from the facts of human existence that all people, whether sophisticates in a modern technological society or primitive societies with little modern contact, that there is in each one a basic knowledge of right and wrong and an overwhelming attraction to good. St. Pope John Paul II rightly taught that God has willed the existence of every human being out of love for the human being itself and oriented towards others. In other words, the will of God is our life, and our life of caring for one another. It's right there. Genesis, Adam and Eve, willed to existence by God and commanded to take care of one another. Those who love God serve him freely, and if they refuse that service, they undermine the freedom that love has given them. Those who obey the commandments out of fear or condemnation or judgment, they're not fully free. And it can get worse for those who fall into the deeper slavery if they disobey God in order to gratify their own impulses. The truly free person is the one who does what is good out of the love for good itself. I mean, I gave the example the other day to a group of guys that we were having a little Bible study, and I said, it's like freeway rules on the freeway. I mean, if you're in heavy traffic, but you decide you want to go 80 miles an hour against the rules of traffic, there's going to be a problem. Or if you decide you want to drive backwards on the freeway, you're going to have a problem. Or if you want to decide you want to, stand up while you're driving with your head out of your sunroof, you're going to have a problem, because those are against the rules, the basic rules of driving. And the rules of driving are there for your own protection. They're there for your good and the protection of others. It's the same thing with the rules of God. They're there for your own well-being, for the goodness and the love of others. But if you maintain any one of the current popular philosophies or ideologies rooted in self-absorbed self-gratification and then deny the existence of God, you might be among those thinkers who consider the law of God to be a hindrance to human freedom and to have and misled into regarding obedience as a form of self-alienation, as though God were a hostile power imposing terms on humanity, as though we were a defeated enemy. But in fact, God's law proceeds only from benevolence towards us, whom God totally, totally loves. The moral law is intended to safeguard human dignity. Human freedom and divine law conspire to the same end. Here's how obedience to God works. All right? The rational knowledge, number one, rational knowledge enables us to participate in the light of eternal wisdom, which is expressed in divine law. You have a mind. You can think, in other words, and you can tell the difference between right and wrong. You know what's really, really good. You know when you're being kind. You know when someone's being unkind to you. You know what love is. You know what hate is. So if you act in a hateful way, you're not using your rational mind for a greater good. Pretty simple stuff. 2, in obeying God's law, we incline ourselves before the divine majesty and at the same time follow the deepest vocation as his creation. He's created us with a creative mind. He doesn't want us to be robots or automatons just doing everything exactly the way he would like us to do it in the second he wants us to do it. No, he wants us to be creative and free and use our minds for good. 3, the law must therefore be considered an expression of divine wisdom. By submitting to the law, freedom submits to the truth of creation. And that's what I was pointing out with my freeway analogy. To obey the laws of traffic and to follow the rules of the road will keep you safe, and they'll keep you happy, and they'll keep you safe to the end of your destination. But if you just want to do whatever you want to do, not put in gasoline and oil when you don't need to, your car breaks down, you want to do something else differently, it's driving 110 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, somebody's going to get hurt, and it may very well be you. 4, consequently, one must acknowledge the freedom of the human person, the image and nearness to God who is present in them all. So we stop and think about it. I am good. I am basically good. I am essentially good because God created me in his own image. And then finally, the last point, one must likewise acknowledge the majesty of God, of the universe, and revere the holiness of the law of God who is infinitely transcendent because he has made it good for us. And unless I take too much credit for that, I can't, because these are the thoughts of Saint Pope John Paul II, as articulated by Avery Cardinal Dulles. He was a Jesuit priest who was the Lawrence J. McGinley Professor of Religion and Society at Fordham University, and he held that position from 1988 until 2008. He was also the author of 27 books. So not too much of a slouch, this guy. Avery Cardinal Dulles. And if you're at all curious about living your life just for pleasure and ignoring divine law, then just look no closer than the crisis of our time. What do we have? Opioid addiction, record alcoholism, record obesity, record incarcerations. You know, we in the United States, we incarcerate up to a quarter of the world's incarcerated population. I mean, it's ridiculous. Human trafficking, big deal in this country and around the world. Porn addiction, broken homes, failed marriages, the incel movement. Oh, boy, I got to talk about that at some point. The involuntarily celibate who think they have a right to kill people if they don't have conjugal relationships with one another. What a bunch of goofballs they are. Combining that sort of, the reason that they're even existing, because they combine the everyone gets a trophy for participation ethic with, hormones. Anyway, and then we got record STDs, we got record suicide rates. There's a lot of messes going on around here for people who think just living for your pleasures and ignoring the divine law is a good way to go, because quite frankly, it's not. This is Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. We're going to come back with some answers.
NBC Talk Radio, 1050 AM.
Donald Carpenter here. I'm the host of the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock. You know the number one reason married couples fight? Money. The number one lesson people wish they'd learned in school? Money. Listen, I've got over 20 years of experience in asset management and financial planning. Together, we can make the most of the money you make. We can take care of you and your family's finances. We can teach you how to build and strengthen a family financial fortress that can help protect you for years to come. We'll help you do it. Give me a call, 310-777-6777, and we'll help you manage these volatile markets and make better choices for your family's financial future. Call me, 310-777-6777, or shoot me an email, donald@f3assetmanagement.com. And don't forget to catch the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock on KCAA Radio.
Some combinations were just meant to go together. Chips and salsa, refrigerator and freezer, the internet, and those cute little cat videos. At State Farm, there's another combination meant to go together. Home and auto. As in combining your home and auto insurance with one agent. Which leads to another combination, saving dollars and cents. Your State Farm agent, the DeSalvo Insurance Agency, is here to help life go right. Combine home and auto and see how much you can save. For more information, call the DeSalvo Insurance Agency at 310-553-0241 in Beverly Hills, or find him on the web at BillDeSalvo.com. That's BILLDISALVO.com.
Hi, this is Donald Carpenter. You know, I've written a pretty interesting book. It's called The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, How to Defend Your Family in Any Economy. To pick up a copy of The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or the website FamilyManSMVSG.com.
Berndorf Law Offices, located in Los Angeles, is an employment, counseling, and litigation boutique law firm for California employers and executives. Employment laws change almost daily, and penalties for noncompliance are substantial. If you're an employer in Southern California and need assistance navigating the waters of employee relations, legal aspects of human resources management, or need defense against a lawsuit, our lawyers can help. Find us on the web at berndorflaw.com. That's BIRNDORFLAW.com. Or on Twitter at Law4CA Employers.
Dr. Tatsuo Hirano asks, why suffer and ignore your pain and illness? Stop it before it gets out of control. Acupuncture is like fresh air, revitalizing your body and mind. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano, renowned acupuncturist to the stars and world-class performing artists, will help you get back to optimum health. To explore the healing arts of Oriental medicine, call Dr. Hirano at 818-244-2287. The first 20 callers will receive 10% off their first visit. Just say Donald Carpenter sent you. Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. I'm just talking about, oh man, these crazy people that are entitled to all the things that they don't deserve. Because nowadays, just if you want something, it should be yours. You see somebody else with a nice car? Oh, well, you must be oppressed. You don't have one. It's just nonsense. You guys got to get out there, get to work, pull yourself together, make something happen. People have been doing it for thousands of years before you even got here. And you can do that. You can do that. And if that's not something, you know, that you can feel like you can take care of yourself, then pray about it. Get close to God. I mean, even if I'm just talking nonsense to you, maybe it's nonsense that you need to hear, and just take a little action on that part. Be a good person. Be a good human being. Try to love somebody else. Try to live a life of sacrifice for somebody else. Try to think of somebody other than yourself. Because I guarantee you, when you get caught in that web of total self-focus, whether it's pity or aggrandizement, or whether you think you're just the most amazing person in the world and you're not thinking of anybody else ever, your life is already a disaster and it's going to make other people miserable. So what do we have to as a solution? Hey, I always say, if you want to know how to live in community that was originally trying to kill each other, just go over to Homeboy Industry and listen to Father Greg Boyle. I mean, that man has been amazing and has aligned himself to God in such a way that he brings gang members, vicious, hateful, killing, murderous gang members together on a daily basis to work together in peace and harmony and discover that they are children of God. He had a little video on the other day, and I might play that on the next show. But he had a little video on the other day that just, I mean, it kind of brought tears to my eyes because he started off by saying, "Blessed are the peacemakers. They will be the children of God." And he said, why? Because God doesn't have any enemies. God only has children. And knowing that you're a child of God is a game changer. And this is the guy that works with face tattooed criminals every day and turns them into, and helps turn them into, by their own volition and by the grace of God, into productive citizens by teaching them what? They're children of God and they're really good people and that they can act like really good people. And he also goes on to say in the video that that passage doesn't say peacemakers, peace feelers. It says peacemakers. It doesn't say peace feelers, peace thinkers, or peace lovers. It calls for action. And he talks about his early days of working with gangs and how he used to try to intercede and get gangs to sign agreements and not to shoot into houses. And he said he wouldn't do that ever again because identifying the gang as something that needs to be fixed solidifies the gang. So now he works only with gang members. And so one instance came to mind where this one gang member, he said that what they do is they don't talk about their differences anymore among the gang members and among the people that come to him for services. They talk about their samenesses. And it brought to mind this story of two guys working in the bakery together. And one of the guys had a face full of tattoos. And one of the tattoos was really provocative and really insightful. It had the name of his enemy gang tattooed on his face just so he could cross it out on his own face, which means in gang language, I will kill you if I see you. And he had that on his face. And so he comes to Homeboy Industry. He's to the point where he just needs some help and get off this, cycle of violence. And they put him to work in the bakery. And there he is working right next to a rival gang member from the same gang that he's got on his face crossed out. And they're there working together, side by side, making croissants. And they're working out their differences. And they're not saying a word to each other. They're just working together. And then a few days later, weeks later, the guy with the tattoo on his face goes to the tattoo removal program and says, take this off. And he has it up. They use the laser treatment, and he starts to remove that tattoo. Comes to work the next day. It's still swollen. It's still red and puffy. And he looks to his former opponent, and he says, I'm getting this taken off. And it's because of you. You're good people. Father Boyle says, it's not about working out our differences, because there are no differences. There are only samenesses, because God has no enemies. God only has children. And he said it reminded him of an email from a former gang member that said, God looks at me and he doesn't see sin, he sees son. And that's important to be a peacemaker. But a lot gets handled when we recognize that we're children of God, because that's what connects us, our sameness. God doesn't have enemies. God only has children. And man, if we could get everybody in the world that listen to that, ascribe to it, practice that, believe it, think it, just think maybe that they're good and that they should present themselves as good to the world, and the world will present itself as good to them. These kind of stories happen all the time. I mean, Homeboy Industries, I was listening to a video that a buddy of mine posted on Facebook from Uprocks, and it was about this guy named Aaron Courtney. He's a high school football coach, and he was going to a protest against white supremacists, and he managed to work his way up right in front of this crowd and was face-to-face. He's an African-American gentleman. He managed to work himself up to the front and face-to-face with this white supremacist, and he looked at him and he shouted at him, and he said he wanted to punch him, but he didn't. And he looked at him and he said, "Why the F," and he used the whole word, "why the F don't you like me?" And the opponent, the white supremacist, his name was Randy Furness, he didn't answer. He didn't say a word. And so Mr. Courtney thought, maybe he just needs love. And so taking a cue from his father's teaching, his father, Mr. Courtney's father was a former Christian minister, he offered the guy a hug. And when he offered the guy a hug, he got an answer. The white supremacist said to him, "I don't know." He doesn't know why he hates him. He just hates him. He doesn't know why. You know who got this? You know who really understood this? Was Martin Luther King Jr. He understood this. He said, if we are arrested every day, if we are exploited every day, if we are trampled over every day, don't ever let anyone pull you so low as to hate them. We must use the weapon of love. We must have compassion and understanding for those who hate us. We must realize that so many people are taught to hate us that they are not totally responsible for their hate. But we stand in life at midnight. We are always on the threshold of a new dawn. If you start any discussion by talking about your differences, and if you start any counseling session with, "I'm not getting out of it what my needs are not being met," if you start your protests focusing on your oppression, you will never build community. You will never heal wounds in you or in the other person. It's only through love and a life of sacrifice, and not just a little bit of it either. You've got to give it all. And if you'll notice one thing that I've noticed over the course of my lifetime, and I've been alive a long time, is that every single person that comes to us as a savior gives their life for it. You can't just help people halfway. You can't just love people halfway. You can't just give of yourself halfway. You can't just give something and then wonder, I'll just give a little bit and see how much I get, and then if I get a little bit, I'll give a little bit more. You can't test the waters like that. You have to give yourself completely. You have to give yourself completely over to being good, to being kind, to being decent, to being loving, to being charitable, to being happy, to being joyful, no matter what your circumstance. And you know what? It's almost impossible to do it. But you can do it with the grace and power of God. You can do it, and it will change your life. It's changed the lives of gang members in some of the most bloody districts in LA. It's changed the lives of countless oppressed minorities in this country for decades upon decades, from the 1930s to the present day. Lives have been changed by people acting out of the goodness and grace of their heart and giving their life over for good. And you can do that. You can't just wait for a leader to pop up. You got to start doing it. You got to start in the trenches, the grunt work, the basic things, taking care of the people around you. Start at home. Saint Mother Teresa said, find your own Calcutta and find it first in your home. There's people there in your family that are outcast, that are downtrodden, that are left behind, that are left out. Start with them. Care for them. Love them. Protect them. Care for one another. Teach one another. Love one another. I mean, that was the whole message of Jesus. I give you a new commandment. Love one another as I loved you. And you will see these protests die, fade away, fall to pieces, because no one can withstand the goodness of love. They will accept it, and they will replenish it, and it will flourish from sea to shining sea. We have a potential. We can do it, brothers and sisters. We can take care of this world and make it a place of love and peace and harmony for generations to come. But you got to start with the sacrifice of your own ego. Donald Carpenter, Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. We'll be right back.
ABC Talk Radio, 1050 AM.
Some combinations were just meant to go together. Chips and salsa, refrigerator and freezer, the internet, and those cute little cat videos. At State Farm, there's another combination meant to go together, home and auto, as in combining your home and auto insurance with one agent, which leads to another combination, saving dollars and cents. Your State Farm agent, the DeSalvo Insurance Agency, is here to help life go right. Combine home and auto and see how much you can save. For more information, call the DeSalvo Insurance Agency at 310-553-0241 in Beverly Hills, or find him on the web at BillDeSalvo.com. That's BILLDISALVO.com.
Hi, this is Donald Carpenter. You know, I've written a pretty interesting book. It's called The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, How to Defend Your Family in Any Economy. To pick up a copy of The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or the website FamilyManSMVSG.com.
We want to share a secret with you. There's a new and revolutionary way to bring the Earth's most effective organic plant extracts directly to your skin in a pure and healthy way. Lule Botanicals utilizes a breakthrough process called supercritical plant extraction. Your skin will radiate vitality and health like never before. No one wants to kiss an alligator face. Now they won't have to. Visit us on the web at www.lulebotanicals.com. That's LULEBOTANICALS.com. To get your 20% discount, use promo code LLB20.
Dr. Tatsuo Hirano asks, why suffer and ignore your pain and illness? Stop it before it gets out of control. Acupuncture is like fresh air, revitalizing your body and mind. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano, renowned acupuncturist to the stars and world-class performing artists, will help you get back to optimum health. To explore the healing arts of Oriental medicine, call Dr. Hirano at 818-244-2287. The first 20 callers will receive 10% off their first visit. Just say Donald Carpenter sent you.
Berndorf Law Offices, located in Los Angeles, is an employment, counseling, and litigation boutique law firm for California employers and executives. Employment laws change almost daily, and penalties for noncompliance are substantial. If you're an employer in Southern California and need assistance navigating the waters of employee relations, legal aspects of human resources management, or need defense against a lawsuit, our lawyers can help. Find us on the web at berndorflaw.com. That's BIRNDORFLAW.com. Or on Twitter at Law4CA Employers.
Donald Carpenter here. I'm the host of the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock. You know the number one reason married couples fight? Money. The number one lesson people wish they'd learned in school? Money. Listen, I've got over 20 years of experience in asset management and financial planning. Together, we can make the most of the money you make. We can take care of you and your family's finances. We can teach you how to build and strengthen a family financial fortress that can help protect you for years to come. We'll help you do it. Give me a call, 310-777-6777, and we'll help you manage these volatile markets and make better choices for your family's financial future. Call me, 310-777-6777, or shoot me an email, donald@f3assetmanagement.com. And don't forget to catch the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock on KCAA Radio. Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith Finance Show. We're back, and we're in the fourth segment, so we're going to be talking a little bit about markets, investing, and financial planning. Yeah, Ben, I want to tell you, I'm going to give this to you with love, because that's what this world needs. Love, love, love. There's a song about that. You ought to be singing it every single day. Whatever I say about markets and investing and financial planning is presented for informational purposes only. The information I give is not a recommendation to buy or sell any security or investment. The information I give is not legal advice. The information I give is not tax advice. The information I give is not accounting advice, and it's not investment advice. All investments have risk. All investments can go up and down in price. You need to consult your own financial professional before investing. And if you want me to be your financial consultant, then call me, 310-777-6777, and I'll see that you get a free book and a free financial planning session. And you probably could use that if you're like any other normal human being making money and need to know what to do with it. Give me a call. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I got a lot of happy clients. Hey, how about a little market update? Market started off gangbusters this morning, and then it ended up down. We had losses all across the board. In the Dow Jones, we lost 148 points, down minus 0.61%. 0.61%, excuse me. I said 6.1. It's 0.61, a little more than 0.5%. S&P 500 was down minus 0.82% on 22.86 points. The NASDAQ was down 0.75%, down 53.53 points. Russell 2000 was down 14.35 points, or almost 1% at 0.92% down. But what's interesting, and I've told you this before, is that the volatility indexes on the VIX, the VXN, and the RVX are still elevated, which means extraordinarily choppy markets. You can get chopped up in these markets if you don't know what to do. Professional traders tend to really like these kind of markets because they can go in and out and capture gains very quickly. Do-it-yourself, stay-at-home investors aren't generally that nimble, and they don't typically have the skill sets or the strategies to make that happen. So if you need help, call me, 310-777-6777. So what happened last week? Well, the GDP came out. It was reported on Friday. I was expecting it to be a lower number than it was. And our analysts missed it by about 20 basis points. So not a lot. It came in on the year-over-year number at 2.9%, and I was expecting it at 2.7%. And where we missed that was with the deflator, which the Fed used a much lower deflator, and a few other things. But what it did confirm was that we are at the highest level of GDP for 7 consecutive quarters of acceleration. This ties the all-time record of the 1990s. 7 consecutive quarters of accelerating GDP. It's been an awesome run, ladies and gentlemen. Has it not? Yes, it has. Awesome run. But what happens every time you hit peaks in GDP or the economy or in stock markets? You get a little bit of a pullback. And it's already starting to happen. If you look at some of the other reports that came out on Friday, U.S. capital expenditures slowed to 7% in March from a cycle high of 9.9% year over year in October. New orders fell from their late 2017 cycle peak. Capital expenditure plans fell from the late 2017 cycle peak. And so new orders, I don't know if I said that or not, but that fell from its cycle peak as well. And as I've been saying, things are starting to slow down. If you look at just the U.S. stock market averages, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 1.3% year to date. The NASDAQ is up only 3% year to date. It's already May. And the New York Stock Exchange is down 1.68% year to date. The Russell 2000, it's up only 1.7%, 72% year to date, and the S&P 500 is up not even 0.5% year to date at 0.44%. And you can say the same thing happening with our major trading partners, except it's a little bit worse for them. But they're also confirming a global slowdown, both in Europe and in Asia, with the Spanish, Italian, German stock markets declining, the Euro Stock 600 declining, and the Chinese stock market, oh my gosh, it's a mess. So things are changing. They're different. They're not as robust as they were before. Am I calling for a recession? Nope. Am I saying it's the end of the world? Nope. It's just the time to be cautious. It's a time to be cautious. So, you've got, when you do your financial plan, you've got to think about managing your income and your expenses. I mean, a lot of people, they don't think about that very often. They haven't really been taught how to do that. Awesome book came out in the 80s and 90s, was written by David Bach, called Smart Women Finish Rich. I used to recommend that book all the time. I still recommend it. It's just older. And he had something in it called the latte principle, where you would take the price of a latte and a muffin, and instead of buying a latte and a muffin, you'd save that money. And over a 20-year period, you could end up with $1 million. But that's what you have to do. You have to you start out by taking inventory of everything you spend. So I recommend to my clients to make a ledger, and a weekly ledger, and write down everything they spend, all the money that they spend, every dime, every penny, every day. Write it down and calculate that and see where they're spending. And when you start doing that, you're going to notice things that are not what you thought they were. You're going to be like, hey, wait a second. We're spending the money over here that we don't need to spend, or we're spending money over there, or our cable bill's too high, or we don't need that, second phone, or we don't need that second phone line, or we don't need that, do we really need a third car payment? And, is our house too big? Maybe we should get a smaller house. People start to recognize what's going on with their finances when they start paying really close attention. And that's the point. That's what I'm trying to educate the people to do, is to pay attention to their spending and how does it relate to their income. So you take a look. How much am I making? Do I need to make more? Do I need to get a second job? Do I need to cut down on my expenses? And that's usually where a good financial plan starts, is by keeping track of your income and your expenses. And you'll see whether or not you're upside down in debt. And we kind of get in this debt trap in this country because we're told that we need a good credit rating. And a lot of things are predicated on a good credit rating, like getting a job nowadays. They run your credit. And so you might need a good credit rating. But there are a lot of philosophies, or a lot of financial pundits who say, forget credit. You should be debt-free. I'm somewhere in the middle, but I think you should keep your eye on it at all times. You get a lower interest rate, go get it. You can cut back on your debts. You can lower your debts. You can eliminate your debt. Go do it. The best way to eliminate your credit and dependency on credit is to stop thinking that you need to keep up with the Joneses, is to stop watching the Kardashians and trying to keep up with the Kardashians. I mean, there are entire shows about stuff and the stuff they have and the stuff that you should have to be a person with stuff. And you know what? Who was it? Denzel Washington said that. But I also heard it from a Catholic bishop once. He said that he's never seen U-Haul truck behind a hearse because you can't take it with you. So what's better to do with? Maybe protect your family, maybe go on and create some really good experiences, maybe use it for defending yourself, maybe use it for building your assets, maybe use it for taking care of yourself later on, or taking care of your family, or making a difference in the life of the people around you, or giving it to people who need it more, like, I don't know, St. Vincent de Paul Society, or some homeless outreach. There are orphanages around the world that need your help. And there are so many people in this world that could use your help. Do you really need another gadget to put on the dining room table that's going to run up your credit card bill? I don't think so. I talk a lot about this in my book, and I think that you got to get a copy and read it. Hey, Jesus was born into a family. It's no secret, no accident. If being in a family is good enough for the God of the universe, I dare say it's good enough for me and you. Live a life of sacrifice. God has a plan for your life. Genesis 1:27 and 28. God created man in his own image. He created them male and female. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. Give me a call, 310-777-6777. Send me an email, donald@f3assetmanagement.com. Now you can get my book for free if you give me a call, and I'll give you a free financial planning session. God bless you. Keep you safe. Pray for me. I'm praying for you. See you next week.